Hello my precious everyone, welcome back to Wow Mel. I got a mic. I'm not totally sure how to use it or where to hold it yet, so we'll see how that turns out. But anyways, today I'm bringing you a bit more of a casual video to share some of my more unsavory moments from gym class. Just as a potential trigger warning, this video will touch on anxiety attacks, and overall just darker, more anxious thoughts. I won't dive too deep into it as this is supposed to be a humorous video instead of just a deep dive into my mental health. But my hatred of gym class stems, in short, from anxiety. It's totally okay for you to laugh at some of the things I mention here. In fact, that's like the entire point of the video. It's pretty honestly cathartic for me to go back and look at some of my past actions and be able to see it in more of a humorous light now because I'm doing so much better now, so don't worry about that. Feel free to click off at any point in the video. I will not be offended, just do what's best for you. Also, there might be mention of puking, but we'll see if that makes it in here. That being said, let's get into the video. I started hating gym class from a pretty young age. I think I remember one of my first attempts to escape it. Yes, I mean escape, because this video, rather than just horror stories, it's also just my many ways of getting out of gym class. I remember clearly one of my first stunts that I pulled was when we were playing kickball. The ball was coming to me, obviously, because I was up at bat or whatever. There were no bats involved. I don't speak sports. But whatever, I was the one who was supposed to be kicking the ball because we were playing kickball, and I missed. Little, like, 10-year-old me made a decision in that moment. Would I accept the shame of missing? Just kidding, there's no shame in missing. Don't take what I'm saying to heart. But, like, would I accept the shame of missing? Or would I make it as dramatic as possible? And I chose the second option. So what I did was, the ball was coming at me and I missed it. And so I pretended to fall and twist my ankle. And I started to cry, not because I was actually injured, but because I was so embarrassed about the situation. But because I was on the floor and I was crying that I was in pain, everyone thought I really was in pain. And so the teacher was like, oh my god, what happened? And it all happened so fast, nobody knew what was going on except for me. So the teacher pulled me aside, she was like, oh my gosh, like, you can just, like, sit here and watch, and she gave me an ice pack, and so I didn't have to participate in the rest of the game. Pretending I'm hurt when really I just suck, I kind of took that with me. It's a classic go-to strategy for me. I used it again in 5th grade. We were playing Capture the Football. There were 2 teams and each team had a football, and they were in like a safe zone, and you would like run to get the football, and if you ran back with the football without getting tagged by the other team, you like captured the football and you won. I was never usually brave enough to try, but one day I did try and I took the football and I almost made it back, and this kid who I won't name drop, he was on the football team. Yes, this was in 5th grade, but he played like actual football then. So he literally like body slammed me about like 2 feet away from the line. So it was like almost my greatest moment, but it turned into a nightmare. Cause he like body slammed me and I was not emotionally or physically prepared for that. Everyone was like watching me because I almost achieved success. Then I got super embarrassed, and so I started crying and pretended he really hurt me, even though I was just embarrassed. And then this poor kid, he's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. But I was just like faking it. I really wasn't hurt that bad. But they let me sit out again because I was like, god, my body hurts so much. And just, yeah, I was a ham. I went for it. Elementary school was just, it was just a taste of what was to come. Middle school and then high school is where it got especially bad. Not that good at sports. I think it mostly stems from the fact that I hate them. I don't like team sports, especially because I don't like people relying on me. Take that how you will. I broke my fingers a lot. I broke 3 fingers on 3 different occasions while playing basketball in gym class. So luckily that gave me an easy out because my fingers were broken, so I often didn't have to participate. Sometimes they just made me do like running. But even then, I would really milk it. They would be like, are you okay to run? as literally my fingers were broken. And I was like, no. Probably in total, with my 3 fingers being broken on different occasions, I had like 6 weeks out of gym. But this one time I actually was participating in gym. All 3 classes, I think it was 2, maybe 3, they all warmed up together. So like we would run back and forth and then the other class would, and then that would be our like little rest. And so not only were we running back and forth, but we had an audience, of course, which makes everything better. We were running across the court and I guess I tripped over my legs in front of everyone. And then because we were all running, I was decently fast. There were people behind me. And so I literally got stampeded by some of my peers and they literally walked on me, ran over me actually. But once again, the strategy returned of I'm humiliated, so I'm going to pretend like I'm deathly injured because like I fell and people stepped on me. So that sucked. But like realistically, the most I would get are like bruises. Halfway through class, the teacher was like, do you want to rejoin? And I was like,
No, what are you saying? I'm so hurt right now.
I also had this other really good exit strategy. I had braces, like a lot of people in middle school. But instead of rubber bands, my jaw was like so bad that they needed to implant this like metal thing. I think it was called the Herbst device, but my family always called it the Terminators. They had an upgraded version of it that was like newer and supposed to like work better or whatever. It didn't work for me for some reason, so I had to use like the OG version of it, which made it pretty difficult to like open my mouth because there were metal bars holding my jaw in place, so I could open it like, and that was about it, which was scary, by the way. But that's not what the story is. I had this in for a long time, so over time it began to loosen up as I would keep opening my mouth, right? There were like 2 metal bars that like fit into each other. That visual didn't help you at all. The smaller one would slip out of the larger one if I opened my mouth too wide, and so there would just be these 2 dangling metal rods off of my jaw. It became so loose at one point, it would like fall apart multiple times during class, but I became so good at fixing it, I would just use my tongue to fix it. But it still looked terrifying, even though I could literally fix it in like 3 seconds. We were running a relay race. I was towards the end of the year, and it was supposed to be like this big fun thing that they had surprise for us, but I
don't like playing games, sir.
No, it was an obstacle course, so you went like one at a time. Okay, so I go and then 25 other kids stare at me. No, thank you. I remember I did it kind of wrong. I don't know if I went backwards or like I skipped a step or something, but I did it wrong because I remember I was like humiliated after and like some kids were laughing, and that was enough for me. So I basically just opened my mouth so the metal bars would fall apart, and then I of course went up to the teacher and I was like,
my jaw is broken.
And then they sent me away, but I just like didn't come back until right before the end of class. And I was the better for it, honestly. One other thing that in retrospect is kind of funny, but at the time was pretty concerning, which is basically everything in this video. We were running in gym and it felt like my heart was like palpitating. And we had these heart rate monitors because they would have you put them on to like see how hard you were working, which was kind of not a great method because people had like different resting heart rates. It all wasn't very fair. While I was running, it was like really high, so he sent me to the nurse's office so I could like calm down. And it could lower, and then I could just go back to class. But it like stayed consistently really high. They sent me to the hospital to get like an echo and like a heart scan or whatever they were called, and everything turned out fine. I'm pretty sure I was just like having an anxiety attack. But the great part about that was while they waited for the heart tests to come back, I got to skip gym for like 2 weeks. Honestly, high school, I only managed to tolerate a year of real PE. PE was an option through all the years, but then they also had something called PEPT, which was physical education, physical therapy. So it focused on like physical therapy types of moves. And then they had like weights and strength training and things like that I wasn't interested in. And they also had dance, which I wound up taking junior and senior year because I'm a dancer, but it wasn't available to underclassmen. I remember sophomore year, I was just so miserable in normal PE. I was like, please, I know dance is only for juniors and seniors, but please, can I take dance? Regular gym gives me anxiety and anxiety attacks. And they were like, no. Here's some TMI information about me. In high school, I puked after the mile. Like every time, except for in like senior year. I think I got over it by then. I think it happened the first time because I just was not particularly fit or good at running. Also, we had lunch before gym class, so that was great. I puked after the mile, and then the time after that, I puked after the mile, and it became a thing where I was so afraid to puke after the mile that I would puke after the mile. Again, these were like some of the
worst times of my life.
So I was part of an anxiety support group in my high school. It had like 10 people. They were all girls, by the way. So I don't know if that says something about more of the pressure put on girls or something more about the fact that boys are shamed for seeking help. I don't know, maybe both. Everyone there actually was there for test anxiety, and I'm not about to sit here and be like, my anxiety was worse than theirs. It wasn't better or worse. I would never say that. I don't know all the depths of what they went through in their off time. All I know is that our anxiety was different. They would talk about their test anxiety, and then the people running it, they'd be like, how do you feel about tests? And I'd be like, I don't really care about tests. I just hate when people perceive that I exist. They'd be like,
Ma'am?
they happened once a week, and once they ended, I guess they didn't have enough people signing up or whatever. They were like, you have problems. So they let me keep seeing a guidance counselor at the school weekly who was very nice. This, for me, easy out. The guidance counselor meetings literally lasted like 45 minutes, which was an entire class period pretty much. So I would get to class and then I would get a slip that's like, hey, she has to go, and then I would leave for a whole period. And so the genius, I very counterintuitively scheduled these meetings during gym class, which was like brilliant for me because I got to get out of gym. But the thing I was anxious about is gym. No one signed up for some free therapy today, but here it kind of is. One of the best ways to make something you're anxious about more terrifying is to avoid it. Like, you're continually reaffirming that you can't face this thing. It's kind of like the exposure therapy in that way, where the more you're with something you're afraid of, the more used to it you become, and then hypothetically, at least typically, the fear factor goes down because you're continually used to being around or doing this thing, and you always wind up being okay after. So I would schedule these anxiety meetings about gym during gym. Oh, you know what I just remembered? It was towards the start of, I think, sophomore year. I forgot my gym clothes because you would like wear your gym clothes for a week and then take them home over the weekend and then wash them and then bring them back Monday. I didn't forget it at home, but I forgot it in my locker. Instead of bringing it to my gym locker, so I like ran back to get it, and I wasn't quite fast enough, so the bell rang, which signaled I would be late. So I ran into the room late, which was already terrifying enough for me. I know some people don't care, but I cared. And then, because I'm very graceful, I fell in front of everyone while I was late. And if you haven't figured out the pattern by now, let me just tell you. If I fall in front of people, I'm already sobbing. So I basically had to pretend that I horribly wounded myself on the way down. Into high school, this was a strategy I picked up literally when I was like 9 or 10, and well into 16, 17, I kept pulling this because it worked. But the thing about PEPT was you learned physical therapy stuff. So not only were the moves you were practicing with like yoga balls and TheraBands and things to help you increase your range of motion, but we also had, I think it was Mondays, we would sit in a classroom and learn about like more about the anatomy of the body and like what stuff would do. So it was funny because this was literally a classroom day. Like, this was on a Monday, but my acting skills were just so on point. They were just everything and more. I rolled a 31 on deception. Like, I was not playing any games. I got to sit out of class. I got to sit out of class, even though we were in a classroom learning about the body. I pretended to injure myself so badly that he just let me sit in the hallway instead and not even watch his PowerPoint presentation. Why don't I have an Oscar? What was the point of this? In conclusion, the responsible part of me is going to tell you that it is going to be okay. That even I, who was super anxious during gym, I survived. Here I am. I'm able to look back and tell these somewhat awful stories and find them funny. You hear like, if this doesn't matter in 5 years, don't even worry about it. But you're like, that doesn't really help me now. But like, legitimately, not only do the people in my gym class not even think about the times I fell and people walked on me, I dare say 99% of people from my gym classes don't even remember who I am anymore. Like, 2 years out of high school, like, these people, they do not know me. They do not know what I did. But I guess in the end, I kind of did get my wish for people to not perceive me, because those people, they don't perceive me anymore. So I did want to leave this off with a little ray of hope that if you were kind of like me, which I know a lot of people are, that gym class is just a source of misery, just push through it. Realistically, the things I did, all my avoidance techniques, while effective, they didn't really help me in the long run because I still felt miserable in gym class because I never allowed myself the space to try. That being said, if you ever do fall in gym class, you have my full permission to milk it as much as you can. Kicking, screaming, crying, just to sit out for the last 20 minutes of class. Those were the glory days. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm not sure if it was more funny or more just me sharing somewhat dark humor and you watching horrified on the screen. But either way, it was fun for me. I have a lot of funny stories from the obnoxious lengths I would go to not do things. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe and comment. I honestly usually make like cosplay and D&D centric videos along with other various dorky things, but once in a while I like to do something more casual so you get to learn more about me, myself, and not just some of my geeky hobbies. I hope you have a beautiful day, my precious everyone, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!